everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Laura with Stitchin with Laura. How's everybody doing? I hope you're having a great day. Well, today is going to be a little bit different. We are going to start this, I call it the toy shop. They called it a Christmas house. I'm sorry, it looks like a toy shop. And it says toy shop on it. Can't they just call things what they are? This was from FGOBY this morning. And I'm also going to show you how to begin, or just, if you want, you can just practice for now. You'll see what I mean. This, I'm going to set aside for just a second to get it out of my way. So this is my little practice and show you what's going on type piece thing. Somebody asked me, they said they got a cross stitch. I don't know whether it's counted. I don't know whether it's pre-stamped, but the principle of the thing was they had never done cross stitch before. So I am going to give you a short little tutorial if you don't know how to cross stitch, and this is how I do it. On most of these, I put a knot in the back end because nobody's going to see your stitching. I do stop and start a little bit different on counted, but for right now, all intents and purposes, there's a knot in the back end of that. Okay? So, the way to cross stitch, these kits come in 11, 14, or 18 now. Different kits come in all different sizes. But I usually get 11 count. This piece of fabric is a 14 count, and it's a 14 count Aida. And as you'll notice, there are little bitty squares. And I just come up in one of the corners of the squares. Let me just do a stitch and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm going to skip a stitch. You come up in one of the corners and pull it through. Don't worry about pulling it through. You pull your needle through. Then you go diagonally. I hope you can see this all right. Let me put it and then get it down. All right. So I have come up in the corner, and there is a hole here. There's a hole there, down, and here. So you're going to make your stitch in that, within that square, for all intents purposes. Now I do the sewing method, so I'm going to go down into my lower right, and I'm going to stick the needle into that part. I'm going to come up to over to the lower left and pull my thread through. Now that made one leg of the cross stitch. Now you may want to do your cross stitch, your first leg going in this direction. Some people do it that way, some people do it my way. And then we're going to the top right part of that square, and we're going to tilt our needle to the next hole, because we'll already cover that. And as I come up, it makes the stitch. We'll do that again. From the top left, go down to the bottom right, across to the bottom left, and pull. And make sure your thread is, you don't have to pull it real hard, especially on this material. We're going to, from the bottom left to the top right, and we're going to stick our needle in and go to the next hole. Top left to bottom right, across to bottom left, and pull it up. Then go from bottom left to the top right and across with the needle. try to get it in the center here. Let's do it again. Top left, bottom right. Hold that. Sorry about that. So, and you just continue on. So we're at the top left to bottom right, cross to bottom left, up to the top right, over to the top left. And as you can see, it's making a complete stitch. Let me take this down a minute. And we're going to go over here. Now some people cross stitch top left down to the bottom. I'm using a bigger, thicker thread here just so that it'll show up. And across to the bottom left. Now we're going to go from the bottom right to the top left. They go and do one leg of their stitches at one time. So top left, bottom right. Bottom right to top left to top left again. And then you turn it completely over. Whoa. You have to rotate it all the way upside down, or else you won't do all your stitches. Now the main thing about cross stitch is to make sure that all your legs, if you started going like this, that you want all your legs, your bottom legs to be like that, and all your top legs to be the same. So we'll go top right to bottom left, across to the other, bottom left to top right, top right to bottom left, across to bottom left, top right to top right over here. Well, my thread's a little long. And to bottom. I prefer to do, to complete my cross stitch, my full cross stitch, like I showed you the first time. We're catching all the threads. But that is how you cross stitch. Now some people also come up and then they go back down, and then they come up. Sorry, I will do that again. My bad. I was out of frame. So, up at the top left, down at bottom right. Then you have to find the hole. That was always the most frustrating thing to me in the world. That's why I learned how to do the sewing method. Because you're not searching. You just top left, bottom right, over to the bottom left. And up to the top left, bottom right, bottom left, top right, cross to top left, and just stitch. You're not hunting for that hole. Is what I found the most frustrating thing about having to learn how to do cross stitch. Now, when you have a kit, before I threaded all my needles. You don't have to do that because you're there by yourself and people aren't watching you and waiting for you to thread that needle, because some days it's a challenge for me. I know, I have threaders, yes. But anyway, so when I start, I just pick a color. Let me back that down just a little bit. I pick a color, like I know this is going to last a while, so maybe I can get all this done right here with one thread. I don't know. I might not, but I'll get close. So just pick a symbol, and on the thing, here's my yellow symbol. It's number 24. Then I look on my thread card. It says 24 here. So I pull out one strand, divide it in half, so you have 3 strands on 11 count and 2 on a 14 count. Thread your needle and begin. So we're going to start right here. And I just pick a color. Maybe I want to work on the house first. Maybe I want to do this. Maybe, it just, whatever suits you. Whatever looks like the easiest to see is what I do the first thing. And then I have all these other colors, other symbols. And sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're not. But once you get thread around them, it's a lot easier to see these other symbols. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to either email me. My email address is in the description box below, or ask me in the comment section. And I will be more than happy to help. I hope that little tutorial helps those that are just starting with cross stitch, because it's very enjoyable and it's very relaxing, at least to me. That's my opinion. So, but I think that most people that stitch, they like that calming effect that stitching seems to bring on. It's something you can do. It's not messy, and I like that the best. And usually when you get these kits, they come with needles. They sometimes come with, like you saw in the thing, come with needles, a thimble. I wouldn't use that thimble. If you find another one. But it usually comes with needles and a needle threader, or it just needles. But you have everything right there. All you have to do is start stitching. So I like that fact, because when I go to do counted, that is the one thing that just drives me absolutely crazy, is I got to figure out what kind of material I'm going to put on. Then I got to figure out where the threads are and how many threads and what thread do I have to get, to do this project. I don't like that part. I just want to stitch. So once you get past that part, you're good. But the pre-stamped kits, I need a drink. They come with everything you need to just start stitching. And I'm just totally spoiled by these kits because everything is there. There's no measuring. Where do I stitch? What do I do? So, yeah, I would suggest that you didn't get counted for your very first one, because that's another whole can of worms, shall we say. It's a whole different way. I mean, you don't cross stitch any different, but what you have to do to prepare the fabric and count out and how big is it and that kind of thing, yeah, it's all right there. So there you go. So I hope that helps all y'all. And for those of you that have been doing this for years, thank you for following along. And this is the way I do it. And y'all may do it different than I do, but this is what works for me. I mean, I started cross stitching at about the age of 6 or 8, but somewhere between there. And I was stitching on, it was like sheet material, if you will. It was the old printed, we were going to make a pillowcase. So everything was printed on there with, you know, like a dark ink, and you could make your own color combination. Oh yeah, here we go. There, it starts the can of worms. But the X's were about 1/4 of an inch. Some of them were smaller than that, maybe an 1/8 maybe of an inch, you know, square. So yeah, I've stitched on all kinds of things. And then it had embroidery and the whole nine, and part of it was cross stitch. So I learned how to do all those things that, you know, it required, but that was the only cross stitch that I had ever done until about 20, let's see, trying to figure out how old my kids were. So maybe at about 40 I found, oh, you can get these kits and it's like this. Yeah, it's already done for you. All you have to do is stitch a specific color. They were never as elaborate as these, but that's where I started stitching on actual Aida fabric. But, you know, you just work through it and, you know, you'll get it if you just keep stitching. And you might want to go to like Joann's, or I don't know that Walmart carries it, but yeah, they do. And get yourself some 14 count material, which is very big compared. It's about the same size as this, almost. It's 14 count. Which means that there are 14 of these squares per inch. So there's 11, and where is? Now there's an inch, and I'll bring it down so you can see. But there's the 11th stitch. Each one, there's 100 stitches right here in that square, because it's 10 by 10 by 10. So there are 11 stitches per inch on that, and 14 count is 14 stitches per inch. So it's a little smaller than this. I don't know. I've had some 14 count Aida that was pretty questionable. It acted more like 11 count. But what I started to say was, get yourself a small little square. I think they're maybe, we'll call it $5. They're under 10, I know that. And it'll just be a small piece. Get yourself some DMC, doesn't matter your favorite color, whatever. And just practice making those X's, you know, before you ever get to something, you know, like this. This, back then, would be totally overwhelming. Look at all these symbols, and, you know, what do I do and how do I do it? And most kits come with instructions on how to separate your thread, how to find, you know, this symbol and what number is it on the thread card, you know, and everything. And it even shows you how to do cross stitch here. So yeah, these kits are wonderful to lay it out for the person that has never done that before. So very nice. That's what I love about it. And it's not hard, it's not a race, but I would just get a practice piece before I actually started the cross stitch, you know, to make sure I had, how do I make my stitches and that kind of thing. And hopefully you'll find that it's very enjoyable. Now I know I blathered on a lot and we didn't get a lot of stitching done today, but, you know, I thought it was important to address the simple thing. How do I cross stitch? Oh my gosh, how do you do that? You know? But it's not hard. It's repetitious. I think that's the part that makes it so calming. because you're doing the same thing. Doesn't have to be perfect. Life is not perfect, you know. So I'll have to stitch on this afternoon, won't I? Get some kind of progress done. But yeah, just take it one step at a time. If you don't get it right, undo it. Don't undo it, but have your practice thread and your practice cloth. And that way, what have you lost? $5 in thread, in material, and I'll call it $1.50 in thread. I have no idea how much thread costs at a place like Michael's or Joann's. Just pick a color. It doesn't matter. You're practicing. And get a big, let me see if I can, one that's not threaded. A big needle. And your kit may even come with, a big needle, but you're going to need, a big eye. And a thick needle. Some of them are pointier and sharper than others. But, yeah. But you want a big end. And something, you can hang on to. It might sound elementary, but, yeah. Very nice. I wish I knew what size these were. If you know what size these needles are that come in these kits, let me know in the comment section below, because I'm not real sure. Sorry. I have had a lot of dust this week. I'm telling you. And I've been drinking water to flush it out of my system. Oh my goodness. It just messes with my nose. But yeah, you're going to need a fair-sized needle. Try to hold it as still as you can. See how big that end is? And it should be called a tapestry needle, I believe. So you don't want something that's real, real long, and a real tiny little end. You want something you're going to be able to get at least 3 strands in, and I would practice with the 3 strands, because that way you can see your progress. That's why I used the color that I did, and this thread is actually pearlized cotton, so it's bigger than sulky, and it's bigger, I think, thicker than what you'll be using, in the kits. So I know I just wanted to address that because I never know who I'm talking to. People that have done this for 1,000 years, or somebody that, oh my gosh, I got this kit now. How do I do this? I don't know. So I'm just trying to address all levels. So if you know how to cross stitch and you've been doing it for 100 years, thank you for your patience. And I think that's part of our responsibility in cross stitch, is to teach it to either the next generation or to another person. All right, guys, I know we didn't get much stitching done, but I did want to address that today. Thank you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and please hit the bell. That way you'll know when my next video comes out. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next time. God bless. Bye-bye. Keep stitching, or start stitching.